Right, let's move on to our third game that we're going to be discussing. Is that right? Yeah, 3. Yeah. Wait,
no, this will be the fourth.
Fourth, Jesus Christ, can't even count to 5.
Only five games.
That's what's thrown me off. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Right, this one had 2 goals as well. Rangers 2, St Mirren 0. Both goals from Abdullah Sima, but I think the big talking point for this one is Todd Cantwell.
Back.
He's back. So in the midweek game against Limassol in the Europa League, very disappointing result for Rangers. If they win that game, they're basically through to the knockout stages. With a draw, it's now kind of looking more likely that they're going to end up in the Conference League. Kind of almost feels a wee bit 6 and 2 3s to me, but
you've been to the final of Europa League.
I suppose so
recently.
Yeah,
but this team's not going to get to the final.
Exactly. So they got a better chance to get to the final of the Didier competition. But yeah, Cantwell's taken off in the first half, taken off after 30 minutes. He's absolutely raging about it. And he's right back into the starting 11 for this game. But not only that, he's into the number 10 spot. And it's probably, like, I had a look on Y-Scout. There was a Hibs game, but I think he came off the bench in that, the 4-0. So this is the first time, if Y-Scout's correct, it's the first time he's played as a number 10 since the PSV game.
Okay.
So that was obviously back in August. So he's
under a different manager.
Yeah, so he's usually been played, he either's played as part of one of the midfield 3 or one of the front 3. And obviously since Clement comes in, he's largely preferred a kind of 4-2-3-1. So that's mainly meant he's kind of
with
been
Lammers
used
as number 10.
Yes, that's mainly meant that Cantwell has either been used quite deep or as a winger. And well, you can see why people might think he's a winger. He's definitely better through the centre.
Absolutely. I think I had this conversation on a pod the last time I was on, is that he's been mistaken for a winger, I think, all the way through his career. And a lot of it's about his look even, and like the way he looks as a player. And obviously just the kind of skill set he has does look like a wide player, but it was proven last season that as an 8, but if I'm going to use these numbers ways that people talk, which I quite like, I don't know why people hate it so much, but it's just an easy way of sort of explaining what style of player you're talking about. Cantwell was really, really good. Really good. I liked him in that aggressive way. I'd probably still prefer him I didn't watch this game, so I'll do it. I still like him as just as part of a midfield 3, where he just gets to do.
That's thing. Like, well, I suppose this is a midfield 3, if you call that. But because and it was kind of like that a bit as well, because it was. I've completely blanked on his name. I've got him on my fantasy team and everyone. Tom Lawrence. Sorry. Tom Lawrence was the other quote-unquote
rotate quite well.
Quote-unquote defensive midfielder with John Lundstrom. The way it actually panned out was that Tom Lawrence was always like 10 yards ahead of Lundstrom.
Which he should be.
Yeah, like maybe but then
this makes a lot more sense to me as a team.
In the few occasions that St Mirren had the ball in Rangers half, like Lawrence was dropping back alongside Lundstrom, but when they had the ball, which was obviously the majority of the game, he was very much further forward.
You think it's really a 4-1-4-1? That's really what it is, and when you like almost a 4 in behind a striker, in an attacking sense.
But Cantwell does tend to drop deep to get involved as well. So it's probably a better way of calling it as 4-1-4-1.
And that allows it. But the Lawrence and Cantwell, you think would dovetail quite nicely in that sense, is that they both don't want to be like out and out number 10, because I think a lot of that like it restricts your movement and you can get really clogged in. But if you've got players where there's 2 years that you can sort of dovetail, move around, swap around, keeping the balance of the team correctly, you think that those 2 would work really quite well together, and that team can afford to have 2 guys like that in it easily.
So by picking. So he put Cantwell at the number 10. He's got McCausland starting as well. So McCausland was wide right. So it does seem like it was Clement, because he could have done the thing as a manager and been like, right, he's taken off Cantwell. Cantwell's kind of showing him up. Right, that's it. You're on the bench. I'm not even speaking to you. You're dead to me for like until I'm desperately need you again or whatever. Like a manager try to prove a point. You know, letting their pride be hurt. X, Y, and Z. However, to me, this seems like very smart for Clement and shows that. It's a good sign if you're thinking long term. Is this guy going to be a good manager? Is this going to be a guy who can get closer to Celtic or overtake Celtic? Then these are the kind of things you want to see, where he's putting his ego to the side and saying, right, okay, I've got this wrong. I'm going to use Cantwell as a number 10. I'm going to play McCausland out wide for the start, and I'm going to get Sam Lammers to fuck. And he did also.
The smallest bit of pride I've ever seen anyone after a swallow.
For some reason, Sam Lammers had like some sort of maybe
he has pictures of Clement with hair.
Maybe that's it. No, instead of blackmail, he's just maybe very good at bigging up managers. He's just like nice, like, oh,
well,
boss,
Lammers is a sucker.
Boss, you're smelling great today.
Big absolute fucking sucker.
Have you been working out? You're looking great.
I mean, wouldn't be having a go at Clement a bit anything, to be honest. He's fucking frightening.
So yeah, that worked very well. Like Cantwell was the best player on the park, I thought, and
his pass for the goal, delicious.
Yes, and I thought McCausland played well as well, like very lively, especially early on in this game.
Like the way he runs, he's just got that one where it looks like he's barely touching the ground. It's really like sprightly.
Yes,
and then but that's really nice when it comes inside. And again, for a team like Rangers with Tavernier, you think McCausland's really suited because he looks like he likes to come in field, like that one where Dessers was offside. And he came in off the right and he played a little scoot pass, sort of David Silva style thing. And I was like, right, that really works to me because now you'd have Tavernier bombing down the right hand side, and then that would give McCausland either the option of the striker in there or reversing it back out wide. You could see, like, you can start understanding the makeup of a team.
Yeah, they still struggle up front because Danilo's not been playing well recently, so he was dropped. Dessers brought back in. He played exactly as you can. I don't need to tell you. He played like Dessers plays. Yeah. And then even Danilo coming on didn't really do anything late on either. But Rangers still weren't great. Like St Mirren, I think if you're St Mirren, you're quite pissed off that you lost the goal like that late before half time. And they lose it being a little too aggressive, I would say. I think at that point, especially since they started off the game quite conservative and were just in their shape, and then they kind of grew into it a bit more and started to ask a wee bit of questions. I think, Butland made a decent save as well. I kind of blanked on who. Boyd Muntz, I think it was. So you've got yourself a bit. It's just before half time. Just make sure that you go in at half time 0-0. Instead, in the build up to the goal, let me see if I get the names right. Yeah, so Tanser pushes on to press. So that leaves a gap at left wing back. Then the ball kind of goes towards that area. Taylor then kind of comes out a centre back to try and put pressure on the ball again. So it means there's a gap between him. And then even then, if you watch the two players like kind of charging back, it's Ryan Flint and Marcus Fraser. And in terms of like picking up to like pick up Cantwell to pick up, or not Cantwell to pick up like Sema, it's the communication just isn't there. One of them thinks the other one's got it, and it's just there's just all these bits in that goal. You think if this doesn't happen, you go in at 0-0 at half time and you're kind of growing in confidence, and Rangers fans are going to start to get tetchy again because it's not been a great time for them recently. So it's just, again, it just kind of felt like the kind of match where
they were right for the taking.
Yeah, and well, not necessarily right for the taking, but you get these wee moments. And for St Mirren team, very low in confidence at the moment, like going through a very bad spell, like that could have been huge to get you get that game of 60 minutes and the crowd starts to really turn. Then it's something that can really kind of turn around form. Like what a huge result that would be just to get a draw at
Ibrox. Or whatever at Ibrox.
I think a problem for them as well. One thing I wanted to touch on before we quickly move to the Hearts game is Conor McMenamin. Very impressive at the start of the season, but he's not been playing well recently. He's maybe not helped by the fact that he is. Well, he has been like he supposedly has played wing back before and can play there. He was playing as a part of
a lot. Like
he was playing as part of a front three earlier in the season. I think maybe with him, I was very impressed at the start because he just kind of looked like one of those players that just makes the right decision all the time, and he's still kind of fairly that kind of guy. But the problem is that he's not really. I think he's maybe just a bit of a limited player. I mean, he did come from Ireland, yeah. So I think he's maybe just seeing the fact that he's just not so much more to his game. And at the start of the season, he looked like he'd be like a very important player for St Mirren all the way through the season. Now he's just kind of looking a bit more just kind of another kind of rotational kind of guy.
But I think I'm taking strain out the team. A guy who can do so much in that other role, and then you've got McMenamin in front of him.
He's out for 3 or 4 months now.
You've got so much to play. If you're McMenamin, you've got so much you can play off, and it takes. You've got less responsibility. You've got someone to bounce the ball off. He's not really particularly quick, McMenamin, so I imagine he's the kind of guy that wants a bit of quality around him. And now he's starting to lack a bit of that. Ayunga's got a qualities definitely, but which like to bounce off. But you've got Strain. Flynn's nowhere near the player Strain is, and that's so you start. More and more responsibility going on a guy's shoulder who maybe doesn't have the full skill set to do it. You want to focusing on what players actually can do rather than them having to stretch it and do more. But but Rangers, you've got so many players with Cantwell, Lawrence could score goals. They could have a team where Tavernier, loads of players are able to score goals, but every single one of the strikers has scored. And they score. So, you know what I mean? It could be like, like one of those teams where goals could come from anywhere. Yes. You've got a fullback who scored, got Cantwell, Lawrence off of the midfield, Lundstrom can hit a long banger, Seema's chipping him with loads of goals wide.
Shabalazzo's Hearts team when Christian Nadi been the top goal scorer with 4 goals and Hearts for his third.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? You could have loads, but then they've just got 12 million strikers that he's scoring.